You can't let the enemy speed you up and get you so busy doing even religious things that you don't take time to pray. You don't take time to talk to the Lord. Don't take time to fast. That you don't take time to say, God, what are you saying to me? Lord, where do I stand with you? Lord, I don't want to be so busy running for you that in reality I find myself running from you. Proof that God is using you comes from the time you take with God and the time you spend with him. And he'll say, do this. And he'll say, don't do that. He'll say, go here. He'll say, don't go there. He may say, go here, 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 here. And the next time he said, don't go either place. See, that's the way the Lord works.
Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side. With patience bear thy cross of grief or pain. Leave to thy God to order and provide in every change. He faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, thy best, thy heavenly friend, through thorny ways leads to a joyful end.
You're talking the talk. You're religious. You have on the religious garb. You have the religious language. Praise the Lord. You have the religious positions. But Jesus said, with all that, you don't love me. You don't love me. He says, Isaiah prophesied about you. And he says, but in vain do they adore me. In vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. Teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. Many times let me rephrase this. It is the will of Satan for us to teach the commandments of men and doctrines more than the Bible. These were the religious leaders. Jesus said to them in verse 7, ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, this people draw nigh unto me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. They know how to say the right things. They know how to give honor to God, and they know how to lift up the pastor. They know how to talk about the bishop and the supervisor. They know all of the right language. But God says after they finish saying all these things, the truth is, because the Lord knows everyone's heart. He says, but their heart is far from me. Praise the Lord. Some of us, you don't want to get so caught up in a position doing this, that, and the other, that you have all the positions, but you don't know the Lord. That's empty. That's empty. Lord, I want to know you. Lord, I want to have a fresh relationship with God. You can't let the enemy speed you up and get you so busy doing even religious things that you don't take time to pray. You don't take time to talk to the Lord. Don't take time to fast. That you don't take time to say, God, what are you saying to me? Lord, where do I stand with you? Lord, I don't want to be so busy running for you that in reality I find myself running from you. Satan can give you a sense of urgency and keep you going so fast that you don't have time to pray. You're headed for a crash at that point. You're headed for burnout. Some of the greatest men of God, some of the greatest women of God have crashed and burned simply because they were fatigued. The last thing Jesus warned his disciples about before he went to the cross was human frailties. He said to his disciples, watch with me while I pray. He came back. They couldn't even keep their eyes on for an hour. And he told them, he said, I know your problem. Your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. See, so we got to make sure you talk to the Lord. Make sure you keep him sanctified in your heart. Make sure you stay humble in your own eyes. The Lord said to the king, as long as you were small in your own eyes, I could use you. When you get big in your own eyes, and you know how you see yourself, we ain't got to talk about it. Nobody's going to admit that they're big in their own eyes. And don't you look at someone else and say, oh, so-and-so is big in their own eyes. You don't know what they see. You have to look in the mirror at yourself. See, at yourself. You can't judge it. It's amazing the number of people who can judge someone else and say, oh, yeah, well, his or her problem is they're bigger in their own eyes. No. Just make sure you're not big in your own eyes. Maintain that place in you where only you and the Lord can go. Jesus and all of the disciples went to Jerusalem. Jesus and 3 of them went out in the Garden of Gethsemane. And then there was a walk that Jesus had to take by himself. Every one of us will have to walk. That's a walk that you have to take by yourself. And when it comes to sanctifying the Lord in your heart, that's your walk. I can't sanctify the Lord in my wife's heart. She can't sanctify the Lord in mine. She has to do that in hers. I have to do that in mine. As your pastor, I can't sanctify the Lord in your heart. And as members of this church, you can't sanctify the Lord in mine. That's something that each one of us have to do. And anything that comes up to rival Jesus, any thoughts, any speculation, any doctrines, any clubs, any fraternities, sororities, groups, or anything that comes up that rivals Christ, you have to say, not so.
Be still, my soul, and change and tears are past. All safe and blessed, we shall meet at last.
Proof of God using you is not a busy schedule. Being in demand is not the proof that God is using you. Bless you, my brother. Good to see you, man.